Hi, and welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson.
And I'm Shannon Penrod. Welcome. It's so great to have you here.
I love being here. I love talking with you, catching up with you, gossiping with you.
I know. It's a very fun time when I get lonely without you here.
Okay, and I'm excited about our guest today.
I know.
Yeah, I saw him coming in the parking lot. He's very handsome.
He is very handsome.
Yeah, and it's Joey Travolta.
Yes.
And he has done so many great things for our kids on the spectrum and other kids with disabilities and delays. And we're going to be talking to him about his work and about a very exciting project he has with ACT Today, with Autism Care and Treatment Today, a film camp coming up this summer.
Which is so exciting, so exciting. It's kind of been a big week in the news, too, and I'm sure that you saw that the Combating Autism bill has passed the House of Representatives.
The House of Representatives.
It's moving to the, Senate.
Thanks to our friend Congressman Larson from Connecticut, who I spent some time with back in New York when I went to the Autism Speak Salute to Military Families.
Fabulous.
What a dynamic man he is, and really sees the need to help our military families with their kids where they really need it. 1 in 88 was the last number. It's higher than that now. The Department of Defense has not done recent studies, but we know it's higher than the general population.
We don't know why.
We don't know why,
the case,
and we know that it can be added stress because the family's being deployed, having to move once every 2 years on average. So we're really, and at ACT Today we started the first campaign for military families, and we have given out over $100,000 in direct grants to those children, and we're very happy about that.
It's a wonderful thing that you do.
Well, thank you.
You must sleep well at night because you make such difference.
I'm tired, I can tell you that.
I'm sure you are. And we wanted to let all of you know that it's really important. We talk about all the time on this show how important it is to reinforce people for behavior we want to see more of. So we want to encourage you to reinforce your representatives for having passed it. So you can go to www.autismvotes.org and click on your state. It'll let you put in your zip code. It'll give you a form letter that you can send out to your representatives and say thank you. Reinforce them for that good behavior, and while you're there, you can also click on the Senate portion and send them a letter letting them know how important it is that they also pass it. This is the bill that's going to help our military families.
Yes.
I mean, one of the big things that I know from it is that so many of our military families, when they leave active service, their children lose their services.
They do, and this bill will stop that.
Yes. So important to support them.
Very important.
Very important.
Okay, in the news.
Yes.
We have two studies, the particular note that we wanted to talk about today. A study that's going to be in pediatrics coming up very soon. Researchers looked from 2007 to 2008, and they figured out the unemployment rate of young adults with autism is extremely high, that within 2 years of leaving high school, more than half of those with autism had no job experience, no college, and no technical education. Okay, this is really more than half after 2 years leaving high school. So basically what we've got is this services, and those services are hard fought for and won, as we know, being,
absolutely.
For all parents. Then the services continue after high school.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do about that? How are we going to change that situation? As a lot of our children are aging upward, including ours.
Yes, absolutely.
And, there's so much of an emphasis on early intervention. We have to keep the care and treatment going for the teenagers and the young adults. We have to make them viable, functioning members of our society, or the whole society is going to suffer. Don't you agree, Shannon?
I absolutely agree, and I think that, we all need to pitch in and do something. We need to come up with solutions. We need to look to our schools. I know they're overtaxed already, but it is part of their IEP process that they're supposed to be preparing them for the real world and things that happen after school happens.
In the next decade, nearly 500,000 autistic children are going to reach adulthood, and they're going to be searching for employment.
Yeah.
Are you going to be part of the problem or part of the solution? Are you going to provide jobs to these kids? Are you going to help mentor them? Are you going to help coach them, give them skills? Everybody needs to be doing that. We're going to be talking to Joey Travolta about that. He's doing his part.
Yes.
His is one of the few programs that I really am aware of that gives really solid training to these kids. And he's got some exciting things to tell us about studios and entertainment companies that are hiring the kids coming out of his program.
Which is really amazing, and this is what one person can do. So I'm excited to talk to him about that as well. We also saw, kind of hand in hand with everything else, that there's a new study that was funded by Autism Speaks that has come out, and the University of Pennsylvania and the London School of Economics. They looked at several different things, including cost of education, healthcare, and tried to put a price tag on what autism actually costs, right? How frightened are you? I'm scared, right?
Okay.
And here were the numbers that they were saying that it's going to cost us all $137 billion.
Okay.
That 1.4 million in a lifetime was kind of an average. But if there's anything in addition to the autism spectrum disorder, if there's an intellectual disability, that we're closer to $2.3 million.
And as we know, intellectual disabilities come with autism because the inability to communicate and to socialize will often result, or self-stimulatory behaviors will often result in intellectual disability, not because the child doesn't have the intellect, but because the behaviors inhibit intellect. So at least I know that in the case of my own son. So the cost, astronomical for our American society as a whole. The cost to parents, huge. The stresses for parents, huge. So once again, a reason to hire our kids, to get them the skills they need, to get them higher education, to get them technical skills.
Yes, especially because one of the really most interesting things about this study is that they discovered that the vast portion of what it costs happens in the adult years. And this is the argument that we've been making for years, that California said we want to fund these regional centers to give these kids the care they need early on, because if it costs us $250,000 across these 3 years for ABA, it's going to save us $1 million later on. And this study definitely backs that up. It says the vast majority of that 1.3 or 2.3 happens in the adult years when they are underemployed or unemployed. So a big reason for all of us, when people say, well, why is this my problem? Well, it is because if we don't get these kids help, they are going to be your tax problem. So something to be considered. In any case, we have fun things to move on to.
Yes, we do. And we're going to take a break, right? And then we're going to come back with Joey Travolta.
When we come back, stick with us.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy.
We're here with a very special guest. There's quite a bit of hubbub here because we're starstruck. The wonderful and fabulous, and as we mentioned, handsome Joey Travolta is with us. You're the founder of Inclusion Films. We're thrilled to have you with us here today.
And Joey, I just have to say it, you look remarkably like and share the same last name of one of the most famous movie stars in the world. Is there a relationship there?
We were roommates.
You were roommates.
That's wonderful.
Okay, so John Travolta.
Yes, we have the same mother and father, yes.
Okay, great. But now you have quite a resume in the film, television production business. Tell us about that.
I've done a few. Well, I started out as a singer. And then from singing, I went into, well, let me back up. I started as a special ed teacher.
Okay.
And during that time, I was also singing, and because of the way I taught, which conditioned me for what I do now, as a teacher, I performed my lesson plan. So math, art, history, I would write a script and perform it, and my theory was that if kids were watching TV for 5 or 6 hours, if I could make my class as entertaining as TV, then I'll hook them in, and it worked. So.
Well, actually, I have been over to the Inclusion Films offices and studios, and in Joey's office there is an album that hangs on the wall with, I think you have an afro in that picture, or a head of curly head?
No,
curly
afro.
head of hair?
It's more hair than I have now. Let's put it that way. A lot more
very
hair.
Brown.
Very brown. Well, I was actually, I've been salt and pepper since I was 25. So, and I think that picture, I think it was 25 when I did that album. So 28 when I did that album, actually.
Well, I'm deeply curious. I didn't realize you were a special ed teacher before.
Yes.
What led you into that field?
Well, my father, I promised my father I would get a degree. And at that time, I was always a protector of the underdog. I would always help the special needs kids out, and whoever would get bullied, because I was one of the jocks. I was in with kind of all the in crowds as an athlete and all that, but I was also very protective from my father, who was always a very inclusive person. And I promised him I'd get a degree, and at that time there were opportunities for special ed. And so I went into that field, and I taught in an orphanage for children for a couple of years back in the
So you had a
early
logical
70s.
reason to start, but you
I had a logical,
stayed.
but you know, when I got my first day of teaching, it was like the bell rang, and I was like, what am I doing? I said, I hate school. I never liked school. I hated school, but you know, all of a sudden I said, well, you know what? I know more than these kids know, so you know, we'll stick it out. And I kind of found a way to teach that I was comfortable with, but the problem was I was putting my paycheck back into the kids. So
Yeah.
Right.
I would have been broke, you know, if I would have continued. But I always knew I would get back into it.
Yeah, but it's amazing to me because it's a difficult thing working with children on the autism spectrum and children who have other disabilities. Not everybody is suited toward it, but clearly you are. You've devoted a lot of your life to it.
Well, but again, you know, from that background, but as a director and as a producer and as a writer, I mean, I didn't plan on going into directing.
Really?
But someone said to me, well, I'll put money up for this film that you're going to do, but I want you to direct. I said, well, I've never directed. She goes, but you're an actor, you produced, I see the way you work with people, and your people skills are your biggest asset. So as a director, technically I knew what to do, but the gift was making people feel comfortable and making actors feel comfortable so they could perform themselves. But that being said, craft service, PAs were just as important as my stars. And I treated everybody the same.
Well, when did you make the transition to working with special needs kids?
It was all by, this whole thing is, it dates back to my daughter almost 9 years ago. And this whole normal people scare me. I was doing 2 films a year as a producer and director. And I always had this concept, because I was getting kids out of UCLA and USC that didn't know their way around a set.
Right.
So I thought, well, wouldn't it be interesting if I could take like 10 kids that don't have, they're not going to go to college. They know they want to be in the film business. What if I started this workshop and they could work in any department or every department, from the writing of the script or the breaking down of the script to the finished product, and they could experience every department, and I'll make that a business, you know, and charge a fee for that, but they'll never be able to get that in college or anywhere. So it was a practical film experience.
Right.
So put that on the back shelf. So it was a concept that I had always had. And we were doing classes for neurotypical kids. And my daughter started a film festival at Chaminade High School. And she said, Daddy, would you help me out with it? And I said, yeah. I said, I'll give you a couple of camps. And I wasn't dealing with special needs kids at this time. And some classes, and I'll get you some publicity. So in the Acorn, the little newspaper, they did an article on the film festival and my relationship with the film festival. And in the article it said I was a former special ed teacher. And that's where Carrie Bowers and Elisa Wolf, they approached me and said, would you consider doing classes for special needs kids? Because those kids are never included.
Right.
So I said, yeah. I said, you know, we could do that. I said, but you know, you get the clients, I'll supply the space, the teachers, and we'll give it a shot. So in that same conversation, Carrie had said, I have a son that wants to submit a film. Can he submit a film? I said, as long as he's in high school, you know, what's it about? She said, what it's like to be autistic from an autistic kid's point of view. And I said, well, that's cool. I said, let me see the film. Well, he doesn't know how to make a film. I said, well, that could be a problem, you know.
Right.
So I met with him, this big 6'5" at 15 years old, and very kind of, No, I mean, he was interested in the whole thing, but I said, let me meet him and then we'll go from there. And they told me about what the concept was. And he was like playing with something, and on the ground there was like a pile of sawdust. I don't know what he was playing with. Very kind of disinterested until I said, well, this is what we'll do. You have to be responsible for doing the interviews. I'll supply a camera and an editor, and then I'll supervise it, but you have to do all the interviews, get all the kids and all that. And then I got California Connected to do a documentary on it, a piece, and Daily News came down the night of the screening, and this little 10-minute film, not only, it was such a big story that the Daily News did a follow-up the following week. Dennis, what's his name, Dennis, I can't think of his name. Anyway, he used to have his a big set. We had people from Ireland, we had people from India, Italy, response all over the world wanting to know about this kid that made a film with autism.
Okay.
So once he was empowered and knew it was going to happen, it was a whole slide in confidence. You know, hey, you know, I'm going to make a movie.
Right.
And it was a powerful, powerful tool. Filmmaking is a very powerful medium. And, you know, from that we did the feature length, and, you know, then I started getting calls, could you come and do this with our kids? And, you know, so you know, Oakland University, this will be the 7th year we're doing the camp there, and they have a big autism program, and you know, we do 5 to 7 camps a year.
Well, so you do camps, you do
the camps are for kids.
Camps for the kids.
Right.
And then there's a distinction. You also have a program, correct?
Yes.
And what is the program?
The program, so in dealing with all this, the regional center had found out about the program, the one that I had told you about.
Yes.
For typical kids to come and work on one of my films. They said, could you do that for our clients?
Yes.
So I came up with a program design, and we implemented it. Probably it's almost 4 years now.
Okay.
And basically it's a 20-week program. We take them through the whole process of making a film. Originally, we were going to have them work on films that I was making, but it was so hard to time a film and how that works with financing. So I came up with the concept of, well, let's develop a film in-house.
Okay.
And it's the same process, whether it's a 20-minute film or a 2-hour film or a $10,000 budget or a $100 million budget, the process is the same. And the process is where you learn.
Okay, and how do, what ages is that aimed at, and how do
it's
they get
18 and above.
18 and above,
It's
and how do
funded
they
through
get
the
into
regional
it?
center.
Okay, and do they go to Inclusion Films, to your website to apply? Do they talk to their regional center
They
about
talk
it?
to their regional center coordinators about it.
Okay,
Yeah. We do have some private pay, you know, because there are kids, Aspies, that fall through the cracks.
Sure.
And really, I designed it for the higher functioning autistic.
And for our viewers who are not in the state of California, is it possible that somebody can come from out of state to join the program? Okay.
Absolutely, and we're both in Bakersfield, California, and in Burbank here.
Okay, that's good to know.
Let's take a little break.
Yeah,
And then I
we'll
want to
come
come back and hear about specifically about the camps and about this camp for the military families,
Right.
for people who have younger kids.
Yeah.
But for those families who have the 18-year-olds who are always saying to us, what more is there? This is something you can add to your list.
And I want to hear some of your success stories too. We've met a few of them.
Okay, exciting. So stick with us. We're going to be back with Joey Travolta in just a minute.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism. I'm Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson here with Shannon Penrod and our special guest Joey Travolta of the Inclusion Films program in camps. And Joey was just telling us how he got into working with special needs children. And now we were going to talk to him about how those camps work and the program works.
Yeah, because you mentioned you have this program for the older kids, 18 and
Right.
up, but you also have camps for younger kids.
Yeah, and that's, I've been doing the camps now for 7 years. They're generally 50 kids.
Okay.
We try to do a mixture of 35 with autism and 15 neurotypical to make it a full inclusion. And a lot of times it'll be siblings, so they get to meet other kids that are dealing with the same thing. And basically, it's a 2-week camp. It goes from 10 to 3, 5 days a week for 2 weeks. And it's like the workshop. We just take them through the process of everything. We always have a theme. We've done themes like the really, really, really late show, and we'd have the host, and then generally we break them into 3 groups, and each group makes a short film.
Okay.
A 3 to 5 to 7 minute film, but it usually goes into a show. We did The Junior Apprentice. I played Donald Trump. I had the wig and
I want to see that.
and the assignment was to make a PSA for autism.
Okay.
So
did you wear a comb over?
I wore a comb over. Yeah. It was actually, I had a lot of fun doing it.
I'll bet.
And then this year we're going to do a takeoff on 60 minutes called 30 Minutes.
Oh, how wonderful.
So we'll have the 3 hosts and do it just like the 60 minutes, but 30 minutes, and people will come on talking about their films.
Yes.
And
And this is the workshop we're doing this summer with Joey and in partnership with Cox Communications and Act Today. And it is designed primarily for military children in the San Diego area or wherever. And it's going to take place in the San Diego area. It's from June 18th to June 29th. We have about 25 applicants right now that have been approved. So we have room for 25 more, a mixture of kids with autism and their siblings. And we want to encourage everybody to go online. I think Emily has the link for that. She does right there. You can call us. You can go to that website address right there, acttodayformilitaryfamilies.org/Cox Film Program, and or call our number there. We are very excited about this and the opportunity to work with Joey, and we hope to be doing more of these camps around the country to help our kids on the spectrum get much needed job skills and just great social skills. Absolutely. And all kinds of things that they come out of this with, which I'm curious, what kind of transformations have you seen with some of the children who have gone through your camps?
Especially the Detroit camp, because it's now 7 years, and I've been watching them grow.
Yes.
And you know, when the very first year we did it, the dean from the college, we were having dinner after, and she said to me, "You don't know how special this camp is." And I go, "Oh, well," I said, "Thank you very much." She says, "I've been watching you work with the kids, and your staff work with the kids." And she said, "In all the films that you made, how many films have you made?" And I said, "Well, 20, 25. She said, "Have you ever changed someone's life?" And I said, "Well, you know, I entertain people. I don't know about changing their lives." And she said, "We don't know who it is in this group, but there's at least 10 to 12 out of this group of 50 that you'll have impacted their life forever." And I'm thinking, wow, man, that's like, it was such, and now, you know, we expanded to 7 cities and, you know, worked with thousands of kids over the years, and we're seeing that. We're seeing them want to go into the field. But the big thing, and we've made provisions for that, is the transition. Because transitioning out of school is very, very difficult.
Oh, yes. We were talking about that at the top of the show. Tell us a little bit about some of the transitions you've seen, and you actually do have graduates of your program in camps that are going on to work in the film industry.
Yeah, well, not so much the because most of the kids are just
younger
coming,
kids,
but two of them work full time for me now.
Oh, great.
And one came on the road with me last year. He got to go all over the country. He'd never been out of the state of California.
What kinds of things does he do for you in his role there?
He's an editor.
Okay.
And he works full time for my program up in Bakersfield.
And I bet he's an excellent editor.
He's an excellent editor, and it was very, very cute because we were traveling around. We were having a lot of problems with travel last year, and we missed a plane. A plane was canceled. We get to Houston, and 2 of our employees are on the spectrum, and I had 2 other employees that were going to be left behind going to Pittsburgh. So I gave one of my guys, I gave him, you know, a credit card and cash. I said, make sure they get on the next plane, because I was going to open the camp. I said, if you need to take a hotel, that's okay. Make sure these guys, they're the first ones on the plane.
Okay.
Well, one of the other employees was his first time working. He really wanted to get on the plane, and he, you know, like kind of pushed his way on the plane, and so he got on first, and my other guy made sure everybody was there, and they almost didn't make it. They ended up getting upgraded to first class. And the other guy was mad because he didn't get out of first class. So Paul, who was in first class, the stewardess came up to him and said, what would you like to drink? And he says, well, how much does it cost? And she said, well, everything is free in first class, whatever you want. He said, I'll have a strawberry milkshake. So it was very, very cute. Yeah,
wonderful.
But he did a great. I mean, and now he's living on his own. He's got his own apartment.
And he's high functioning autism, or
high functioning autism.
okay. What percentage of
have,
autism versus other developmental? I know there's some Down syndrome. I know. Can you give us an idea of the kinds of mixture?
Well, I you know, in the workshops, I would probably say 50 to 60% autism.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're in a very strong position to succeed.
And why is that, Joey?
Well, because they're brilliant. It's a matter of recognizing that brilliance and finding out what their gift is, because everybody's got a gift. You got to find out what the gift is. So we've been lucky in that we've been able to find gifts in these young people, and it's cultivating it and making them feel comfortable being around other people, communicating with other people. This is why filmmaking is so important, because everything that goes into filmmaking goes into everyday life. So you're learning social skills, you're learning communication skills under the guise of filmmaking.
Yeah. Because
everything that you can name, accounting, building, wardrobe, all these things go into filmmaking. I mean, we have several kids up in Bakersfield that have totally fallen between the cracks in the school system.
Right.
And they've come to us, and they fit in. All of a sudden, they fit in.
It's such great. How do we get this message out to the rest of the world, to the film industry, to?
Well, there was an LA Times article on inclusion films, and from that, we've been getting quite a few calls. Aaron Kaplan saw this article, and he is a prominent TV producer.
Yes.
And he called me right after the article and said, hey, man, I'm Aaron Kaplan. I have 8 pilots. And, you know, usually anybody that says I have 8 pilots is, you know, I can see 2 pilots, but 8 pilots.
Yeah, but he was telling the truth.
He goes, I'm telling you right now, he goes, I'm taking my 90-year-old grandmother out for breakfast now. You know, this isn't, I'm not throwing the bowl with you. I really want to help. So he called, and then meetings kept getting canceled. But then all of a sudden, the pilot came up. He hired 2 of our kids.
Great.
Right.
And one of them, to give you an example, I was going to send somebody along with him to be there with him to make sure. And the call time was 7. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, he was waiting.
Oh.
So as the crew pulls up, there he is.
Right.
And 7:30, Bill, who works for me at the office, calls me. He goes, they don't need me here. He's already working. You know, he's already working. And now they're going to hire him on to work. It got picked up. So he's going to have a full-time job on this.
How great is that? How great is that? Now,
absolutely incredible.
We met a young woman that has been part of your program, Danny
She's
Bowman.
Brilliant.
Is that her name?
Yeah.
And tell me about how she has written 2 books, and they, with her special animation. And can you tell us a little bit about Danny?
Well, John Martin and myself, we were writing a screenplay, and this guy, Richard Willich, who had funded a couple of camps in Jacksonville, had the story about a baby bull.
Yes, that he owned.
Holding the bull, and he hadn't even met the writer yet, John Martin, who has a daughter with autism.
Okay.
And said, he comes in, he goes, hey, boys, I got a problem. What's the problem? He goes, well, I got to go talk to the school district, and they want me to read this Dr. Seuss crap. I don't want to read that Dr. Seuss crap. He goes, I need you 2 to come up with a story. So we came up with this story about a bull that strays away from the herd and meets this little boy who's always being bullied.
Yes.
And so it was a cute story. I mean, you know, wouldn't even think twice about it. And then I said, well, why don't you hire Danny? I can have her do the illustration for it.
Yeah.
So they hired her, and she did 2 books for them, and they're very sweet books.
They're wonderful books. My son Wyatt absolutely adores those books. They really strike a chord with kids.
Yeah.
And
you
Jim,
got one for
I got
Jim.
one for Jim, and,
he
we met.
loves it.
We met Danny at the Autism Speaks walk. She was there with the books.
Yeah.
And she's just a delightful young woman.
Well, when I first met her, you know, she's quite prolific. She came out with me last summer and taught animation at the camp.
So she actually teaches animation.
Well,
at the camp.
Toon Boom is the I think it's Toon Boom or Boom. I have dyslexia, so. Anyway, they sponsored her last year to come out. She came to a couple of the camps.
Okay.
But usually, anytime there's any kind of prodigy or great story, they usually come to me, you know, for advice or, you know, whatever, to see if there's some way we can collaborate. So she came in one day and she was so adorable. She opened up her laptop and she doesn't call me Joey or Mr. Travolta. She calls me Joey Travolta. It's so nice to meet you, Joey Travolta. Are you ready for the presentation, Joey Travolta? I go, yeah, sure. So she opens up her computer and has, you know, this type of presentation, color, brochure of all her characters, and she opens a computer and she says, Captain Uran went to the planet Nebulous where she met her new friends Nini and Feeny. Are there any questions, Joey? I go, no, you're doing great. I said, go on. And she did this whole presentation. So I had a kid in the workshop, and his name was Uran, like her Captain Uran.
Oh.
And he does voices.
Okay.
So I said, Danny, would you like to meet Uran? He's got the same name as your Captain Uran, and he does voices. He says, well, can I do that, Joey Travolta? I said, of course you can. You can do whatever you want. So I bring Uran in. Uran is autistic as well, 22 years old. And I said, Danny, meet Uran. Uran, meet Danny. And I introduce them, and he gives him the written material. And I'm standing here. Her aunt and uncle are behind her. You're Danny.
Okay.
And he goes, well, first of all, your Uran is spelled different than mine is. And in order for me to get involved with this, you would have to change the spelling of your Uran. So Danny looks at me, can I do that, Joey Travolta? I said, you can do whatever you want. It's your Uran. I said, Uran also does cartoon voices. So I said, Uran, do a cartoon voice for him. So he looks at me, he goes, I had sex with your wife last night. And now I know he probably heard it on the Cleveland show.
Yeah, Family Guy,
Family Guy,
yeah.
And I
The
go,
Simpsons.
You're on. I go, totally inappropriate. I said, do you have anything to say for yourself? He goes, she was great. Now I'm embarrassed. I'm going, oh my God. So I apologize to her aunt and uncle. He goes, no, don't worry about it. He goes, we totally understand. Actually, all of Danny's characters are different diseases, including venereal diseases. And then the anecdote is like penicillin, you know. So she comes up with, so they leave, and Uran comes back, and I said, Uran, I said, that was so inappropriate. I said, I'm trying to train you to be in the workplace. I said, and you have sex with my wife? I go, totally inappropriate. I said, he says, Joey, he says, it will not happen again. And then as you leave, and he told me, he says, Joey, he says, would it have been better if I had used Scooby-Doo's voice? I could get out of here. But
That's great.
Oh,
it's so
wonderful.
cute.
Now, I think we have a clip of something, right, Emily?
Okay,
Yeah?
let's take a look at the clip, because when we come back, too, I want to know, you had them do a project for your David Letterman late
Yes.
night
Yes.
piece
Yeah.
about the top 10
Reasons to hire.
And I want to hear
With
about
autism.
that, but let's
Okay.
take a look at do we know what the clip is?
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, we're going to take a look.
CBS News.
CBS News. All right, we'll take a look.
Okay.
In high definition. This is CBS 2 News at 5.
He's the brother of a Hollywood superstar. You'll recognize the last name, but you may not be familiar with the first. But for up-and-coming film students, Joey Travolta is a superstar in his own right. CBS 2's Stacey Butler sat down with the filmmaker who's giving back after decades of being given the chance to realize his own dreams.
Paul, his last name makes him Hollywood royalty, but it's his heart that may well make Joey Travolta a legend, not among the industry elite, but to a growing number of people with disabilities who until now have never had a chance to shine. Before he received a degree in special education, before he was a film director, actor, and musician, before he was ever known for being the brother of an acting icon, Joey Travolta rotated tires at his dad's body shop in New Jersey.
We grew up in a very kind of blue-collar neighborhood in the midst of, you know, a lot of racial tension and just a very tough time in the 60s. And my father was just, everybody was welcome at our table. He treated everybody equal, and he treated everybody with respect. And that's what, you know, when you treat people with respect, they'll treat you with respect. And that's something that my father taught me.
Now, 30 years later,
you never know what can happen.
Joey Travolta,
I believe everybody has a gift,
is putting the lessons his father taught him to practice.
Bravo. What these kids have to give us, they're the teachers, because they teach us how to be the way my father was. My father was tolerant. My father was inclusive.
After directing 20 films, Travolta could have retired.
I got the golden ring. This is the golden ring, you know, as far as I'm concerned.
Instead, John's big brother is using his expertise and Hollywood connections to return to his first love.
You sort of do an expression like, oh, brother.
Good, and it's going to be which take?
Helping the developmentally disabled learn the movie business.
And it is a real set. It's a practical experience. The difference is they work alongside the pros. That's how they get their experience. Market.
Inclusion Films started as a short film camp.
Two parents who have children with autism had approached me about doing classes for special needs kids.
Grubby Octopede and Master Splinter, your pizzas are ready.
Now, as part of a full-time vocational program, his students are casting a short film.
An actor comes in, and I'm sure they think it's, you know, what is this, you know?
It is the first film written and directed by a Southland man who has autism.
Working on a movie, it was like the one time I didn't feel like I had anything wrong with me.
But some do find work as editors and production crew.
This is the first time in my life that I can sort of be myself.
In an industry known for casting off those who don't fit the mold.
How many times, you know, when someone with special needs are asked their opinion on something, you know, and, well, what do you think about this?
Joey Travolta makes it his business to include them.
I feel like everything in my life has brought me to this point.
I want to be remembered for the work I'm doing now, you know. I'm hoping that someday, you know, Tyler or one of these other kids, you know, or, you know, make their own film and, you know, go on to do great things. And that they become someone who's appreciated in society.
Inclusion Films relies on a number of sponsors, including the Lanterman Regional Center. A spokesperson there called Travolta's program visionary and invaluable to the students. For more on Inclusion Films and autism, just go to our website, cbs2.com, and click on Seen on TV. Laura?
All right, thank you so much, Stace. A controversial law that allows terminally ill patients to end their lives when
Okay.
Back. So inspirational.
You know, that gave a great overview. It just occurred to us we should have shown that at the top of the hour, but that's okay. Now people know more about Joey Travolta and your wonderful program. And Shannon and I were just saying, you know, we have to salute the regional center for seeing the value in this.
Absolutely, yeah. They also see the importance, and it's been a problem trying to get people to hire.
Sure.
You know, and I guarantee you, when you hire, they will be the best employee that you have.
What a wonderful endorsement.
It's just great.
And you mentioned that you did this project late night, and that they did the top 10 reasons why you should hire someone
with
autism.
We did a takeoff on the Letterman, and they did the whole roll down, and it was the #1 reason to hire people with autism.
Okay.
And that is that someday they could be your boss.
I love that.
in the light of all the, tech companies and all that.
Yes.
Especially in the television business and the film business,
Yeah, absolutely.
we know that, look at Mark Zuckerberg, not your average guy there in the hoodie and the, the things he does.
Exactly.
So you never know where your next genius billionaire is going to come from, people.
That's right.
So, and Joey, I had a great experience being interviewed by another Hollywood royalty in a family of Hollywood royalty, Joe Mantegna, the great actor, who is the star of Criminal Minds and is also very active with Act Today and our program for military families. He hosted our PSA that runs, and he also is the host of our golf tournament later in August. And Joe's daughter, Mia, attended your program.
And she's a makeup artist too.
She's a makeup artist.
She's a doll. She's just, she's very into dates and birthdays, and first thing she'll ask you is, "Oh, hi, what's your name? And then, when were you born? And then you were Libra, whatever it is." And then she'll never forget it.
Right.
And she's so cute because I always say, "Oh, Mia, you're never going to remember my birthday. October 14th, 1950.
Well, she's a beautiful young woman.
And she's a very good makeup artist. We have our own little show, Mia's Makeup Club.
Great.
Wow.
And she also did a wonderful job. CBS, who has another great supporter of the autism world, Steve Malden, who has a daughter with autism. He ran a segment on inclusion films, and Mia was the reporter, and she interviewed me as part of that. And she just did such a great job. She really did.
It's great. These news stations, it's a great way to give groups like ours exposure, and even NBC up in Bakersfield, we're getting a story a month that we produce, that we write, and our kids are the reporters for it.
Okay.
And we interview the subjects. We do it exactly the way they do, how the big boys do it. But the great thing is they get the work experience, and then they get to see the results.
Wonderful.
And I think that's one of the great things about filmmaking is that you do see results.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's an end product.
Yeah.
Whether you were a grip or electrician or an actor or a writer, because there's so many facets of filmmaking, you become a team, you become a family. And that's what they're excluded from. They're a part of a gang.
Exactly.
Filmmaking gang.
It's a wonderful thing.
What a group to be part of.
And as a parent, I am so interested in this. I mentioned before we brought you in that I have a son. He's turning 9 in a week and a half, and he has been dinging at me forever. He wants to make a film. He has an idea for a film. He wants to make a film. So this is of deep interest to me. But I'm curious, as a parent, how you deal with kids of different abilities. That you've got a group of kids.
We have a bar that we raise.
Okay.
Okay, and we expect the most out of it.
I love that.
And wherever they start, we help them and lift them up.
You assume intelligence. You assume ability rather than the opposite.
I don't talk down to anybody.
Thank you.
Right.
I don't. The way I talk to you is the same way I talk to the kids, and my staff is like that too. I have a great group of people that work for me.
Yeah.
I am an opportunity creator.
Yeah.
I create opportunities for people.
Yeah.
And it just happens to be through filmmaking.
Well, it's a wonderful thing. You're the real deal. It's a very cool
I am
thing.
the real
You
deal.
are the real deal.
I want to say one more thing about our camp that's coming up.
Yeah.
Cox Communications, who is partnered with us on this and funding
that's
it.
Fantastic.
They are planning on, we're going to be showing the film at the San Diego Film Festival.
Yeah.
And we're going to be having a big red carpet premiere down there. So this is going to be a really great opportunity.
And I think it's tied into the San Diego Film Festival.
It is. It's tied into the San Diego Film Festival. We're going to have a red carpet premiere of the film, so the kids will be able to go to that. And
that's the most exciting thing when they see it with their families and they see their name up there and see them. Because I do the greatest part of for me is doing interviews. I interview the kids.
Right.
And last year we did this whole segment on who do you look up to, and they would talk. Oh, my mom. I said, well, into the camera. Tell your mom, tell your dad how you feel. Just so I had this one kid, and I said, who do you look up to? And he said, the ceiling downstairs.
That literal thing.
I said,
Literal.
Well, I said, I want you to tell the ceiling downstairs how you feel. He gets up and walks out of the room. He was going downstairs to tell me.
This is
But it was,
hard.
I don't know. It's
It's a great story, the literalness of it. But you have been such a great guest and
so wonderful.
Energized. I know both of us, Shannon and I, oftentimes we have guests on the show and we're just like, wow, you know, to see somebody that's doing such great things with our children, such practical, needed things, is just so inspiring, Joey.
It's
and just as a mom of a child with autism and the sister of a brother with Down syndrome.
We're all in this together, and you know, we want to make it the best for our kids, and that's you know, that's what we do.
I want to go briefly over some of the logistics because we talked about 3 separate things that parents are going to want information on. So if they've got an 18-year-old or older that they want to get into your program, who do they need to contact?
Well, they should contact their service coordinator.
Okay.
And if they're not, just getting in touch with us through the website, Inclusion Films.
Okay, because if you're in California, it's covered by the regional center, which means they're going to be able to do it
And they got
free.
the email up there.
One of the things that we do in Bakersfield, we even have kids in Kern County that come from outside, and they stay at a hotel and they provide wraparound service, and so it's kind of cool because that's even.
Awesome opportunity. But if you're not in California, you have the possibility of
coming in, possibly and staying
from out
somewhere.
Of state and Okay, then for the military families,
for the Activate for Military Families program with the Cox film program this summer, June 18th through June 29th. Emily's got it up there again. You can call us. You can write us at Act Today there, very simple, or you can go on the website. There is an application. We are encouraging people to apply. And also for your kids that are not on the autism spectrum, because we want siblings. So it is inclusion. So we want both kids on the spectrum and their family members that are not on the spectrum to come with them. And I'm going to be coming down to visit that camp, Joey. I can't wait to see what you guys are doing. And then we're going to have that big red carpet premiere later, I think in the early fall. And it's going to be such an amazing experience for our kids. I really encourage you to go after this program.
And then for families who are not military families, who have younger kids who want to do one of the camps, you do those in 7 different cities, did you say?
Yeah, well, we've done them in 7. This year we're going to be in St. Mary's.
Okay.
Up in the Bay Area.
Okay.
Then we'll be in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And then we're going to be in New Jersey.
All right.
At where I went to college. Well, where I went to junior college. It's now St. Peter's College now.
Okay.
And then in Detroit at Oakland University. But they list it on the website.
Okay. Wonderful. So go to the website. That's where you're going to get the most information, because this is a wonderful opportunity for all of our
And you know,
kids.
maybe there's if there's something where a family's interested and they can't get it through regional, maybe they could apply for a grant through Act Today. We could maybe work on that too.
Wonderful thing. Thank you so much for all the work that you do and for coming here and sharing with us.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.